welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well let's learn English together. Hello again, people. Hello and welcome, of course, to the first day of the week. Yes, that's the standard working week, of course. But you all knew that, didn't you? Yes, I'm sure you did. So, did you have a good weekend? Did you all have fun? Are you all excited that the school year has finished and now we're on holiday? All right then, well, the time for relaxation has come and gone. And now it's time for us to gird our loins and have another bash at the present perfect, isn't it? Of course it is. You know that, and I know that. So, let's just take a moment to consider where we've got to so far. What did we last look at when we looked at the present perfect? Yes! As I'm sure you all remember, the last time we saw the present perfect, well, the last time we looked at this tense, we talked about the fact that the distinctions between the categories are blurred. They're not clear. So, let's have another look at those categories, shall we? Number 1, event in past connected to present. Number 2, event began in past and continues until now. Number 3, life experience until time of speaking. And number 4, recent or very recent events and states. All right, so as we know, the lines between these categories are blurred, but that's not particularly important. All right, let's think about what we've seen. We've seen the idea of an event in the past which is connected to the present. I've lost my wallet, for example. When did this happen? Well, we don't know exactly, but it happened in the past. And what's the connection to the present? Well, the connection could be that I'm talking about it now. Perhaps I've only just realized that my wallet's not in my pocket. Or perhaps it's important now because maybe the waiter has brought the bill and now I have to explain that I'm unable to pay. Okay, what about the next category? Well, we also saw an example of that too, didn't we? Yes! I've lived here since 1993. Event or state which began in the past and which continues until the time of speaking, until the present, until now. We could also have another shorter idea too. He went on holiday 2 weeks ago. He's been in Spain for 2 weeks. All right, now, what about the next category? Well, that's very similar to the idea we've just seen. What we last talked about was the idea of an event or a state which began in the past and continues until the time of speaking. Okay, and now we're going to look at the idea of life experience until the time of speaking. They're quite similar, aren't they? It's a very similar idea, isn't it? Yes. And that just reinforces, that just highlights, that just underlines the idea of the lines between the categories being blurred. Now, this is one area where we often see the words ever and never. And we touched on that before, didn't we? So, what do we all remember about ever and never? Well, ever means at any time or at any time in your life. And so, you can see that it's the logical word to use with the present perfect, isn't it? Okay, so that's ever. And what about never? Well, never is the opposite of ever. Never means at no time. So again, it's just the sort of word we want to use with the present perfect. So, both of these words work perfectly with this idea of the present perfect. These words are all to do with something either happening or not happening in our lives to date, until now. So that's great, isn't it? Yes, now, remember what I told you. We don't have to use the words ever and never when we're asking questions and providing negative answers, but it sounds much better if we do. Have you been to Rome? Have you been to Kenya? Have you been to La Paz? Have you been to Lake Titicaca? Have you been to Tierra del Fuego? Now, although all of those questions are correct, to me, they don't sound as good as they could. The meaning is pretty clear, but When we're asking questions about life experience, then I think we need to add ever. It just makes everything clearer. If we're asking questions in the present perfect about something which happened in the past, but which is connected to now, then there's absolutely no need for us to use ever and never. In fact, if we do use ever and never, then it moves the question or answer into a different category. If I ask you, have you lost your wallet? Then the situation is clear. I'm looking at you and I can see that you're patting your pockets, looking for something, trying to feel where something is. It's obvious that you're looking for something. I can see your phone and the waiter has just brought the bill, so logically, I work out what it is that you're looking for. Your money, your wallet, the container in which you keep your cash, bank cards, credit cards, debit cards, ID card, residence card, health insurance card, pictures of your girlfriend or boyfriend, spouse, kids, dog, pet monkey, pet llama, whatever, business cards, this thing. So I work out what it is that you're looking for, and so, like any normal person, I ask you the question, have you lost your wallet? A perfectly normal question, a perfectly normal reaction. Okay, and it's a question in the present perfect. I'm asking about something which happened in the past, but which is important now or is relevant now. You may have lost your wallet in the past, but you're looking for it now. So it's important, it's relevant now. Okay, so we know how to ask a question in the present perfect. The subject is the second person singular, you, and we know that we make the present perfect with the auxiliary verb to have and the past participle of another verb. So, because we know that the subject in this case is the second person singular, we know that we need have, not has. So it's a present perfect question. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we're not going to start with the subject, but with the auxiliary verb. If I was making a positive sentence about the second person singular, then I'd start with you have and follow with the past participle of another verb. But because this is a question, we have to remember to swap things around. So we don't start with the subject, but with the verb. It's not S plus AV plus V, subject plus auxiliary verb plus verb in the past participle. No, it's a question, which means that it's AV plus S plus V. Auxiliary verb plus subject, and then we follow the subject with the main verb in the past participle. Okay, so the verb is the verb to lose, and the past participle form is the same as the past simple form. Lose, lost, lost. Okay, so that gives us our question. Have you lost? And then the object, your wallet. And don't forget the question mark. Have you lost your wallet? Okay, so that's our question, and it's beautiful. Now, think about what happens if I add one more word, one of the words I was talking about earlier, ever. Okay, well, first things first, if we want to add the word ever, then where does it go? When we're using ever with the present perfect, we put it after the subject. So the form here is AV plus S plus ever plus V. Auxiliary verb, subject, ever, and then the verb in the past participle and the rest of the gubbins, if there is any. And don't forget the question mark at the end. Okay, so that's the deal for ever, the word we use in questions. What about never? Well, let's have a look at where we put never, shall we? Never, as we know, is the opposite of ever. Ever means at some time, at any time in my life. Never means at no time. All right, so that means that when we want to use never in a present perfect negative sentence, we place it between the correctly conjugated form of the auxiliary verb, have, and the past participle of the main verb. The form is S plus AV plus never plus PP. Subject plus auxiliary verb plus never plus the past participle of whatever verb we're using in the sentence. All right, now, back to where we were. If I ask you, have you lost your wallet? Then it's a perfectly good present perfect question. And we can tell that we're asking about something which happened in the past, but something which is relevant, important now. All right. Now look at what happens when I add the word ever to the mix. Have you lost your wallet? Have you ever lost your wallet? Can you see? Can you hear the difference? Yes, and that's why I think that if we want to use words like ever and never with the present perfect, then we have to use them when we're talking about life experience until the time of speaking. If we use ever with a present perfect situation, like the situation with the wallet above, then it sounds like we're asking if someone has ever lost a wallet in their life, which is a bit of a strange question. So, although we know that there's no need to use the words ever or never when we're asking questions and providing negative answers in the present perfect, we can see that it is a very helpful addition to questions and negative answers when we're talking about the present perfect for life experience to date. The use of ever and never really show that we're not talking about something connected to the present, but the idea of some life experience to date. So this is one situation where the use of two words does show a clear difference between two of the categories for the present perfect. All right, now, how about some practice? All right, see how you get on with these questions. And yes, it's multiple choice. And yes, we're going to do the first one together as an example. Number one, has Johnny Halliday's mum, Lulu, been to Japan? A, never been. B, been. C, ever been. D, chimpanzee, baboon. All right, well, that one's pretty simple, isn't it? For a start, which one is absolutely out of the question? Yes, it's D, isn't it? Yes, D is a silly answer, one that we can ignore. Okay, so 3 left. What do you think of A? It's wrong, isn't it? Yes, but why is it wrong? Well, that's simple, isn't it? Yes, we're asking a question, which means that we don't need never, but ever. Never is the one we use in negative answers. For questions about life experience using the present perfect, we use ever, not never. Never is the word we use in negative answers, not in questions. Okay, so D and A are out. What about B? Well, yes and no. This all goes back to what we were talking about earlier, doesn't it? Yes, and here, I think that this answer without ever isn't the right answer. People will still understand the question, so there's no problem there. But, as I said, when we're talking about life experience, it sounds much better to use ever and never. So, that only leaves one possible answer, doesn't it? Yes, and it's the right one. C, ever been. Has Johnny Halliday's mum ever been to Japan? So, that's that one completed. It's a question. It's a question about the third person singular, and it's a question in the present perfect. All right, so that means we're going to start with the correctly conjugated form of the auxiliary verb which we use to make the present perfect, have. And the third person singular form of have is has. Good. So, we start with has, then follow with the subject. Has Johnny Halliday's mum? Okay, and now what? Well, as we saw, we follow the subject with the past participle of the main verb. And what's the main verb? To be. Okay, and what's the past participle of the verb to be? Be, was, were, been. Okay, been. But because this is a present perfect question about life experience, we're going to use ever in the question, aren't we? Yes, and what does that mean? What are the implications of this decision? Well, what did I tell you about the positioning of ever in present perfect questions? Yes, that's right. When we use ever in a present perfect question, we put it in between the subject and the past participle of the main verb. So that means we have to put ever into the question after the subject. Johnny Halliday's mum. Has Johnny Halliday's mum ever been to Japan? And don't forget the question mark. All right. Okay, and so on and so forth. That's all the time we've got for you today. So, until tomorrow, you'll just have to amuse yourselves doing something else. But don't worry, we'll be back on your screens tomorrow afternoon and we'll have another look at some more sentences connected to the life experience idea of the present perfect. So, it's time for us to pack up and go home for the day, and as you all know, there's a coffee with my name on it waiting for me in the 9th district. So, people, remember to do your chores, walk the dog, feed the cat, speak to the parrot, tickle the monkey, whatever you have to do. And remember to turn the music on before you start. It's more fun that way. See you tomorrow. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!